In much of the world, America was special and essential to the future of those countries devastated by war.
Europe had waged suicidal war upon itself. There was England, and it was a victor, but it was exhausted. France was a victor, but it was humiliated. Soviet Union was a victor, but it had lost 20 million people.
The magnitude of Soviet losses would leave that nation determined never to be so vulnerable again.
For ordinary people, it was tremendous tragedy, because in every Russian family there was somebody killed at the front. Officers and soldiers returned to burned out villages. People began to dig up inside the earth little holes like foxholes. And the whole family, sometimes of 6, lived in this earth house.
In the two aggressor nations which had begun the war, the future looked extremely uncertain.
Germany was defeated, and it was going to be cut right in half. And Japan had been, just as in Churchill's phrase, ground powder. And in that, we'd been brought kicking and screaming to the zenith of our power.
With troops now stationed in 20 countries around the world, America's historic isolationism was over. $400,000 GIs were sent to occupy Japan. They were under the command of General Douglas MacArthur, one of the architects of the Japanese defeat. The Japanese were allowed to keep their emperor, Hirohito, but absolute imperial rule was over. The United States wrote a new Japanese constitution. In Japan, America was the sole occupying force. In Europe, it was America and the Soviet Union. And this ideological struggle between them would be played out on a continent beset by chaos.
I made my way eventually through Mannheim, where I was born. And as I made my way through Germany, I realized the total destruction that had taken place in that country. Displaced persons walking all over, from the east to the west, from the west to the east. Large cities bombed out, ruins. The only real force was the Allied military government. That was the power. The country had come to a standstill. There was total anarchy in this country.
And throughout Western Europe, deprivation and devastation were causing political turmoil. In America, there was concern that this chaos would somehow encourage Western Europeans to turn to the communists.
And it seemed as though, in a way, they had a lot of the cards. Wherever there was misery and poverty, where could people turn but to communism? Capitalism, don't forget, hadn't looked too good in the 30s. A lot of people had thought it was played out. There was a sense that Italy might topple the next election, even France. There was a definite momentum, it seemed to me, in favor of the Red Menace.
The political leadership in the United States, for its part, saw the wisdom in getting Europe back on its feet. In an act of unprecedented generosity, America sent $13 billion in aid.
The United States is the only country in the world today which has the economic power and productivity to furnish the needed assistance.
The Marshall Plan, named after the Secretary of State, seemed the perfect merger of American ideals and good politics.
America was a strong, generous country. It is fashionable to make fun of it, but it really was true, and we were rich, and we were confident, and we were sympathetic to the devastation of Europe and what we could do. The Russians were very, very harsh. Where we were sending in stuff to Western Europe, they were stripping down Eastern Europe and mailing and railroading everything back